So hey all the future assistant professors, welcome back to English by Pooja Singh. So today we are going to solve our most requested video, that is UGC NET literary criticism, and we are going to solve like all the PYQs, all the important concepts, and we would like to clear all the doubts that has been arised in your mind. So without any delay, let's get started, and we will be solving like 50 MCQs. If you haven't watched the most hardest chronology video, I would request you to please go and watch that, because that is the only way and that is the only type you are going to get the questions in your examination. So without any delay, let's get started. We are going to start. So UGC NET literary criticism. Which critic is credited with the naming of the movement the New Criticism in his 1941 book? Which critic is credited with the naming of the movement the New Criticism in his 1941 book? T.S. Eliot's Ira Richards, John Crowe Ransom, and Cleaneth Brooks. What is the answer? Radhe Radhe. So the correct answer is John Crowe Ransom. Why? Because Ransom book, The New Criticism, 1941, provided the movement with its formal name and analyzed the work of contemporary critics like T.S. Eliot and Ira Richards. So it is very important that you should be knowing who has initiated this movement and how the name has evolved from it. Okay. Moving forward to question number second. In Matthew Arnold's The Study of Poetry, the touchstone method is used to. In Matthew Arnold, The Study of Poetry, the touchstone method is used to identify the biographical details of the poet, compare new poetry against lines from great masters of the past, analyze the metrical structure of a poem, evaluate the popularity of a poem among common readers. Now, let me tell you, if you haven't studied Matthew Arnold's study of poetry, it's very important you to read it, have a basic summary out of it, because that is very important. And it is good evening, hi. I'm your big student. Thank you so much for giving me so much of respect and love. And Matthew Arnold is one of the most important critic, writer, novelist, and you just name it, and every year they ask 2 to 3 questions from Matthew Arnold. Either that will be in big statements. So it is very important to study him, okay? So we'll be seeing the correct answer. So the correct answer is B. Of course, we are knowing this. He is comparing the new poetry against lines from the great masters that we call classics, right? He has always focused on the classics. So compare new poetry against the lines from the great masters of the past. And Arnold suggested using short passage. Whenever you are going to compare things, take out a short passage, and from where classics like Homer and Dante as a touchstone to detect high poetic quality in new works. So this is very important. Have a basic clarity of what the words are saying, because in the examination you feel every line is correct. सी एग्जाम व्हाट आई फील दैट अगर आपने प्रिपरेशन अच्छा किया तो आपको डर नहीं लगना चाहिए. बाकी तो क्वेश्चन का लेवल वो तो एनटीए ही सेट करता है. हमें अपने एंड से प्रिपरेशन करनी चाहिए. रेस्ट द क्वेश्चन लेवल विल बी इंक्रीजिंग डिक्रीजिंग, ऐसा वैसा कुछ होता नहीं है. सो दिस इज द थिंग, यू डोंट हैव टू बी परेशान नहीं होना है. जो चीज़ अपने हैंड्स में नहीं है, यू शुड नॉट टेक द स्ट्रेस. स्ट्रेस से क्या होता है ना, जो चीज़ आपको आता भी होगा ना, वो यू वोंट बी एबल टू फोकस ऑन. स्ट्रेस इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शन टू फोकस. ठीक है, तो मत लीजिए आप स्ट्रेस. क्रोनोलॉजी is the biggest thing, और वो ऐसे नहीं याद होता. It takes years to remember these all things. I've made several copies for that and still बहुत सारा ऐसा question होता है जो हम खुद भूल जाते हैं. So this is very normal. It requires a lot of multiple revision, endless. So उस पे फोकस मत कीजिए. आपका जो एज वाइज आप जो पढ़ रहे हो उसको फोकस करो, राइटर्स जो फोकस कर रहे हो उसको फोकस करो, ऑथर्स को जो फोकस कर रहे हो आप उसको फोकस करो. नो नीड टू रिमेंबर एवरीथिंग. आपका एक दो ऐसा राइटर होगा जो आपको पता होगा कि अच्छा ये तो मॉडर्न का है, ये विक्टोरियन का है, ये रोमांटिक का है, ये रेनासा का है, तो अच्छा रेनासा वाला पहले आएगा, फिर रोमांटिक आएगा, फिर विक्टोरियन. ऐसे गेस करके करना है, ठीक है. I suggest how, ma'am, could you please speak in English paper 1 in years याद किए तो English रह जाती है. We don't know Hindi. See, the thing is that you should not take stress, the very first thing. If you are taking a lot of stress, you cannot focus on the important things, and that will result in your examination. It will have a bad impact on your examination, right? So that is why I'm telling you to focus on the age particular, focus on the authors, and you have to do multiple revision in order to remember the chronology. And that is why it is not so easy to memorize 5,000 plus writers and their endless works, right? It is not easy. So that is the thing that you have to remember and keep on reading. It is chronology is not overnight thing. You cannot feed your brain with so much of facts and figures. And that's how what I'm saying, that you do not want to lose your temper right now, because until unless you are stressed out, the things which you are remembering, you're feeding in your brain won't work out. So that's why I'm telling you to keep calm, and whatever is not in your hands, you should not focus on that. Okay, that is the particular thing that I was speaking in Hindi, right? I think that I have cleared my point. Menu's food, is it clear? Did you understand things in English? Yes, that's like Hemlata. Yes, we have to revise like that. Okay. So question number 3, Victor Shavorsky's concept of Austrian is best translated as, and everybody knows, is defamiliarization. What does that defamiliarization means? It comes from the Russian formalist argue that the art should make familiar objects strange to force the reader to perceive them more deeply. Okay. So this is the correct answer. Moving forward to question number 4. According to Wimsatt and Beardsley, the intentional fallacy occurs when a critic judges a work based on the reader's emotions, evaluates a work based on the author's stated purpose, ignores the historical context of the work, or focuses on the formal structure of the text. What does that mean? Wimsatt and Beardsley, their intentional fallacy occurs when they evaluates, no, the B is the correct answer, evaluates a work based on the author stated purpose. That what it's saying, no, intentional. Author ka kya intention hai? What is the intention of the author, right? So that what it says, that author's intentions is neither available nor desirable as a standard work for judging success of a work of art. If you are just judging on the author's intention, no, that's not going for that work of success, right? Moving forward to question number 5. In Saussurean linguistic, the signifier refers to what? The mental concept, the physical object in the real world, the sound image or written word, the relationship between two different languages. Now let me tell you, Ferdinand de Saussure is one of the most important critic of literary criticism, of structuralism. So you have to pay a lot of heed to him. So please read Ferdinand de Saussure, read what is lingua, read what is parole. Lingua is a system, is a set of system, like we have the alphabets, and parole, I will write the example, alphabets, And parole is the use, the correct use, like we are using car, bat, right? So this is the thing when you are speaking it. So these are the things which you should be very crystal clear. What is lengua parole? I am writing in one sentence, but NTA will give you in two statements. So please be prepared for it. All the concepts, what is sign, what is signifier, what is signified, and how these three have the connection of it, right? So the answer for that, it is the sound, image, or the written word. Signifier is the sound word. He defined as composed of a signifier, the word and the sound, and the signified as a mental concept. Okay, moving forward to question number 6. Cleaneth Brooks argued in the well-wrote on that the most important language of a poetry is the language of what? Logic, paradox, description, or emotion. Yes, Beauty Kumari, you can take the personal guide from me. Actually, we are running a membership L1, L2, and L3. And if you join my L3 membership, I personally guide all the students there. I do have a Google Meet with them, and I do personalize their study. कैसे पढ़ना है, कैसा पढ़ना है, क्या study plan होना चाहिए आपका, and I do take the reviews. So yes, if you want to take my guidance, you're most welcome to join my membership. I would be happy to, guide you all. Okay. So the correct answer is paradox. Correct. So paradox, Cleaneth Brooke argues that paradox is the language appropriate and inevitable to poetry because poetry deals with the fusion of opposites. Okay. So that is why he is saying like that. Now moving forward to question number 7. Again, Jacques Derrida's. Please read all the concepts. He is very important and he is UGC's favorite, right? So his concept of difference and a lot of statement question have come in the June 2025 PYQs implies that the meaning is what? Fixed and absolute, both differing and deferred, found in author's biography and determined by the social structure. Jacques Derrida difference implies that it is both differing and deferred. So please learn the meaning of it. And this word combines from the French word that is to differ and to defer, so that the meaning is never fully present but always shifted along a chain of signs. For example, power, for example, pride, for example, crown, for example, lion, for example, king, and this will go on and go forth. And this is exactly what we say, that the meaning is arbitrary and we cannot have a fixed meaning of it. It goes along to the chain of signs, right? Moving forward to question number 8. Which stage of female writing, according to Ellen Showalter, involves women writing in the male tradition? The feminist phase, the female phase, the feminine phase, and the gynocritical phase. And this is how exactly NTA is going to, give the questions like that. It is the feminine phase, okay? Feminist political thing, the female phase is something different from that. When it revolves in about writing, it is a feminine phase, okay? See, feminine is the imitation of male standards, how the male were writing at that time. Feminist, it comes in the protest, and female, it is a self-discovery. Note it down, these are very important. Now, Aristotle's peripeteia is defined of what? The purgation of emotions, the reversal of fortune of the protagonist, the recognition of a hidden truth, and the tragic flow of a hero. Can anybody tell me what does it means? And in your real life example, can anyone give me the real life example here of what peripeteia means? Exactly, it is the reversal of fortune for the protagonist. It means it is a sudden change in a story where a situation seems to be developing in one direction, then suddenly reverse. I'll give you a very nice example. Like, देयर इज अ हीरो, हिंदी में पहले बताते हैं क्या होता है। हीरो रहता है, ठीक है, वो पेड़ में है, और हीरो हीरो यहाँ पे बैठा हुआ है, हीरो को पेड़ में बांध दिया है, ठीक है, हीरो को पेड़ में बांध दिया है। एंड एक फ्रेंड आता है उसका, उसको हेल्प करने के लिए, तो उसका हाथ ना बंधा हुआ है, हाथ उसका रस्सी से बंधा हुआ है। इंस्टेड ऑफ कटिंग दैट रोप, व्हाट डिड ही डू, ही कट द हीरोज हैंड। नाउ दैट इज द सडनली रिवर्स, मतलब अभी तक सब कुछ अच्छा हो रहा होता है, एंड एट दैट टाइम इट बिकम्स सब खराब हो जाता है। सो दिस इज अ सडन चेंज इन द स्टोरी वेयर अ सिचुएशन सीम्स टू बी डेवलपिंग इन वन डायरेक्शन एंड देन सडनली रिवर्सेस। सो इट वाज गोइंग टू बी अ हैप्पी मूवमेंट, बट कि वो छुड़ा रहा है, उसको छुड़ाया नहीं, उसका हाथ काट लिया। सो दिस इज द रियल लाइफ एग्जांपल ऑफ दैट। नाउ मूविंग फॉरवर्ड टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 11. Samuel Taylor Coleridge's secondary imagination is different from the primary imagination because it is involuntarily and common to all humans, conscious and coexisting with the conscious will, merely a mode of memory, and focused only on physical objects. What does that secondary imagination means? Exactly, it is conscious and coexisting with the conscious will. Primary imagination is the basic power of perception, how you are perceiving things, right? How you are perceiving things. And secondary imagination is the poetic power that dissolves and anti-dissipates to create a new art, right? Moving forward to question number 12. T.S. Eliot's disassociation of sensibility refers to a split that occurred in English poetry during the 14th century, 17th century, 19th century, and 20th century. T.S. Eliot disassociation of sensibility refers to a split that occurred in English poetry during the 17th century. Okay, why? Because T.S. Eliot believed that after the metaphysical poets began to think and feel separately, and that was losing the unified sensibility of John Donne. Okay, now moving forward to question number 13. In the anatomy of criticism, Northrop Frye associates the mythos of autumn in which genre? Was it comedy, romance, tragedy, or satire? In Anatomy of Criticism, Northrop Frye associates the mythos of autumn in which genre? It is tragedy, of course. You can make it from the mythos also, autumn also, and autumn is always related with the tragedy and all the death, gloomy days. Okay, so it is tragedy, and Fayard's seasonal archetypes are spring belongs to comedy, romance belongs to summer, tragedy belongs to autumn, and satire or irony belongs to winter. Okay, now moving forward to question number 14. Deconstructionists often use the term logocentrism to critique the Western obsession with. It is the logic, the word. Logocentrism, it is the belief that there is a central truth or the origin logos that exist outside of language. So this is very, very important. Okay, mark it very important. Moving forward to question number 15. Mikhail Bakhtin's carnivalesque refers to a literature that celebrates the ruling class, subverts authority through humor and chaos, focuses on the tragedy of the common man, follows a strict chronological structure. Mikhail Bakhtin's carnivalesque refers to a literature that 15b. Correct answer. It is talking about hierarchies. The beggar will be dressed as king and vice versa. So this is the thing, rich and poor. So this is the thing, they will be dressed like that, and this is a tradition of the carnival, and it is the moments to literature where hierarchies are overtuned and social norms are what? Mocked. Right. Now moving forward to question number 16. Jacques Lacan's mirror stage occurs roughly between the ages of. Now, let me tell you this mirror stage PYQs, like they have asked in the statement types, like what it is exactly, who has given the statement, from where did it occur, is it true, is it false. So, again, please read this mirror stage. Mirror stage is that stage where that child copies that, yeah, infant. It is 6 to 18 months where they start looking at themselves in the mirror and they try to copy, they try to differentiate about their body, right? This is the phase where the infant perceives its reflection as a complete body and leading to the formation of the I or the ego, right? Now, moving forward to question number 17. Kate Millett's Sexual Politics, 1970, is considered a landmark of what? First wave feminism, second wave feminism, third wave feminism, or the post-feminism? What does that mean? 17B. Exactly, it is from the second wave feminism. For that, you have to keep your thing, because she shifted feminist focus toward the political nature of the patriarchy and its representation in literature. So it becomes very important that you should be knowing what it all means. First wave feminism, second wave feminism, third wave feminism, what the post feminism, and their motive. Now, the aesthetic movement's motto, El art por el art, means art is for the people, art for art's sakes, art is a mirror of nature, art is a criticism of life. What does that mean? Aesthetic movements. Yeah, that's correct. Art for art's sakes, and it suggests that art should be independent of what? Moral, social, or the political purpose. That should not be concerned that it has to be something, a particular thing, and it should not be, related with some or other things. Let that art should be art. Okay. Question number 19. In stylistics, deviation refers to using standard dictionary definitions, departure from linguistic or literary norms, a logical error in an argument, the translation of a text into another language. Refresh it. My internet connection is good now. You can refresh once. Am I audible and visible? Is it buffering to all? Do let me know in the comment section whether it is buffering to all. Once refresh, no ma'am, you are visible, it's clear. Okay, fine, we are visible. So question number 19 answer is the departure from linguistic or literary terms The departure from linguistic or literary norms, deviation or ikat, is how poet uses language differently from everyday speech to create an aesthetic effect. Obviously, if I would be writing poem, I would be liking like, my rose is beautiful. I always give this example, okay? My rose is beautiful. But if a poet would be writing, my red rose. Now here he is referring to his beloved, my red rose. So like that, RR alliteration. So this is how he is going to create an aesthetic effect, right? Now moving forward to question number 20. Edward Said's Orientalism primarily critiques the Western representation of the Far East, China, Japan, the Middle East and Islamic world, South America and Eastern Europe. Who did he say to critique the Western representation of? It is the Middle East and the Islamic world. Why? He argued that the Orient is a fabrication of the Western imagination used to justify the colonial rule. Moving forward to question number 21. William Wordsworth's preface to lyrical ballads was a reaction against, answer this one fast, the Romantic period movement, the gaudy and the inane parasiology of 18th century poet, Elizabethan drama, or the medieval ballads. Have you done these type of questions in your PYQ? Have you done these type of questions in your PYQ or mock test? Then good. The answer is the gaudy and inane parapsychology of 18th century poetry. Why? Because Wordsworth uses to want to use the language of men, used to the language of the rustic men instead of artificial poetic diction against of the neoclassical period. Moving forward to gynocriticism was a term coined by, again, this is very easy one. Everybody should know this. This is Ellen Showalter. Okay, she defined as the study of women as a writers focusing on the female produced culture and history. Moving forward to question number 23. Which novelist F.L. Lewis include in his great tradition? Dickens, Hardy and Joyce, Jane Austen, George Eliot. You just have to see Jane Austen because he used to, idol worship Jane Austen, and whoever likes Jane Austen or said a good things, he mentioned his names in, that great tradition. So George Eliot, Henry James, and Joseph Conrad. Great, because they showed a vital capacity for experience and the moral seriousness. Moving forward to question number 24, Julia Kristeva's intertextuality is the idea that authors should avoid reading the other books. Every text is a mosaic of quotations from the other text. Only great text influences the other text. Readers cannot understand text without a dictionary. Correct. Intertextuality's idea that every text is a mosaic of quotation from other text means she argued that no text is original. No text is original. They are all built from existing language or the previous literary works. And that's what everybody is saying. If you're talking about the whole literary criticism, what everybody has said, there is a piece of literature. Now they will be critiquing or judging on the basis of the classics. Now what does that mean? You have to take examples from the classics, from Homer, from Dante, right? And then only you are going to get a new or a moral type of poetry or the text. And that is why what you're doing, you are not, no text is original, you are just copying or pasting it, or you are taking an idea from it. So nothing is original. Yeah, these are the PYQs. I do all the PYQs. Yes. Ayer Richard's practical criticism experiment involved grieving students without rhyme scheme, punctuation, title, and author's name line breaks. It is titles and the author names. He did an experiment. He wanted to see how students respond to the words on the page without being biased by the poets. Had he been given to the work of William Shakespeare, everybody would have like same reaction, like he is the god and nobody can write against him. But what did he do? He gave a simple piece of text, now please do analysis, and 20 students gave their different approaches because they were unknown of their titles, because they are unknown of the authors, and that is why this was a great experiment. Question number 26. Harold Bloom's anxiety of influence is based on which psychological model? It is the Oedipus complex. Bloom saw that the relationship between a new poet and an old precursor poet as a symbolic struggle between a son and the father. Question number 27. Stephen Greenblatt is a leading figure in which critical school? Everybody know that. New criticism, structuralism, new historicism, or the reader response. This is easy answer. This is new historicism. And they focused on the Renaissance literature and the socio-political negotiation of the time. So this is very important. Moving forward to question number 28. This is also very easy one. Roland Barthes, The Death of the Author, argues that the birth of the dash must be at the cost of the death of the author. What is the correct answer? Question number 28. Very easy. Very easy one. Yeah, it is the reader. Barthes argued that the text unity lies not in its origin but its destination, and he, paraphrased reader as a destination, because until unless I am not interpreting my way of, see, everybody has its own POV, right? And if you are just following the author's POV, you are not going to get the original essence of that. So for getting that essence, you should be keeping all the things aside, right? Question number 29. Jean Baudrillard's simulacra refers to a state where the image is a perfect copy of reality, the copy has no original and becomes more real than reality. Art is superior to science. People forget how to read. Correct answer is B, of course. He called this hyper reality, where signs and symbols represent things that don't exist in the real world, and that is a great example of Gaza war. That never happened in reality, but the media exaggerated it so much that it becomes real, right? Moving forward to question number 30, again very easy one, and you have to read this in detail, because a detailed question answer asks on the sublime. Longinus identifies how many sources of sublimity? Very easy one, 5. The sources include the greatness of thought, strong emotion, figures of speech, noble diction, and dignified composition. Now tell me, do a beggar and a judge will have same thought? If they are writing a book, will they having the same thought? No. And that's why here greatness of thought comes in the thing. Now, strong emotion also talks a lot about it. Noble diction. So we have to, you should be having a lofty mind to think about. You should be having an elevated speech. Now, question number 31. Kawame Anthony appears in My Father's House, deals with the concept of British nationalism, American identity and nativism, American transcendentalism, and the French Revolution. It deals with the African identity and nativism. Appiah critiques the idea of unified African race, arguing more complex view of identity. Moving forward to question number 32, again she is very important. Please. Stanley Fish interpretive communities implies that meaning is in the text itself, fixed by the author, created by the shared strategies of a group of leaders, or purely random. Okay, no issue, Sanjay. It is created by the shared strategies of group of readers. Okay. Why? Because readers from the same background or education will interpret the text similarly, because they share the same interpretive rules. Okay, again, this is the same thing. Now, Aristotle's agnosis refers to the moment of death, pity, discovery, recognition, or fear. Yes, correct. It's discovery or recognition. It is a change from ignorance to knowledge that tragic hero undergoes. And you can give all the tragic hero name, Hamlet, Othello. Okay. So they just get something ignorance and they get to know the reality, and that becomes the, yeah. Moving forward to question number 34. Excuse me. Philip Sidney's An Apology for Poetry was written in response to whose attack? Yes, King Lear, Macbeth, Oedipus Rex. It is of Stephen Gosson. So Gosson wrote The School of Abuse, calling poets a caterpillars of a commonwealth, and Sidney defended poetry as a teacher of virtue. Okay. Question number 35. Wolfgang Iser is a key figure in which theory? Deconstruction, reader response, or reception theory, ego criticism, or Marxist criticism? Correct. It is reader response theory. Iser focused on the gaps in the text that the reader must fill to create meaning of their own. Question 36. The Mad Woman in the Attic 1979 focuses on the 19th century literature through the lens of Marxism, feminism, post-colonialism or formalism. It is feminism. So Sandra Gilbert and Suzanne Guber analyze a trope of the repressed, that is the mad woman in the novels like Jane Eyre. Question number 37. T.S. Eliot used the objective correlative to explain why which play was the artistic failure. Yes, he has talked about Hamlet because of indecisiveness thing. And Eliot felt, Hamlet's emotion that was in excess of the facts. He was having all the facts related to his murder of his father, right? Had all the evidences. But Shakespeare failed to find the right objective correlative for the character's feeling. Question number 38. For Saussure, parole refers to the abstract system of language, individual acts of speech, the history of language, or the rules of grammar. It is the individual acts of speech, while lingua is the system, the rules of chess. Parole is the actual usage, the individual game played. Moving forward to question number 39. Jacques Derrida's of grammatology argues that Western philosophy has prioritized what? Writing over speech, speech over writing, sight over sound, and logic over emotion. Jacques Derrida's of grammatology argues that the Western philosophy has prioritized speech over writing. Why? Because he called this phenomena as phonocentrism, that believe that speech is closer to the truth than writing. Like we are very, normal, or we are very, comfortable while speaking. It takes a lot of things in writing because that might change into evidence, right? And when we are writing, we are more focused, right? When we talk, we can talk like 1,000+ words, but when it comes to writing, we'll only be writing 100 to 300 words. So that is why he says that speech is closer to the truth than writing. We think before writing a lot, and it can be calculated also. Louis Althusser interpolations is a process by which a text is translated, an individual is hailed to turn into a subject by ideology, a reader rejects a book, a poet finds inspiration. Yes, I have written a lot. I have done a PYQ analysis of 2020 to 2025, and soon my book will be on all the platforms. I have done a detailed analysis for that. So yeah, when ideology calls to us like a policeman shouting, "Hey you," and we respond, we become subjects of that system. So yeah, it is an individual hailed for that. Moving forward to question number 41. Which author did Bakhtin use to illustrate polyphonic novel? Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Flaubert, or Dickens? Which author did Bakhtin use to illustrate the polyphonic novel? Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Flaubert, Dickens? It is Dostoevsky. He argued that Dostoevsky's novel allowed characters to have fully independent voices that disagreed with the author. Okay. Question number 42. Simon de Beauvoir's The Second Sex is famous for which line? Workers of the world unite. One is not born but rather becomes a woman. The personal is the political. Art is the imitation of nature. Everybody knows that one is not born but rather becomes a woman, and but still nobody pay heed to it. The work argued that femininity is a social construct imposed on the biological females, right? Question number 43. Russian formalist focused on literariness, which is the modal message of a book. What makes a given work of a literary work? The biography of the writer and the price of the book. It is what makes a given work a literary work. They wanted to ignore outside facts like history, psychology, focus on the linguistic devices that makes a text literary. Moving forward to question number 44. Ian Watt's The Rise of the Novel connects the genre's popularity to the invention of the printing press, the rise of the middle class and individualism, the influence of French Romance, or the decline of the church. It is the rise of the middle class and individualism. That is why it was connecting to that genre to particular popularity. And he said, Ivan Watt said that the novel focuses on the realistic, individual experience, mirrored the values of emerging bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie, they were the middle class people, they were the working class people, and they were connecting to it. Now they also began to read. They also began to read the novel, and that is why they were writing in the same normal language. Question number 45. In psychoanalytic theory, suture refers to healing a wound, the stitching of the subjects that into the text or a film narrative, the process of forgetting a dream, or the translation of a text. It is the stitching of the subject into the film because it describes how a reader or a viewer is made to identify with a specific perspective within the work. Question number 46, you must be knowing this one. Gayatri Spivak's Can the Subaltern Speak refers to subaltern as the ruling, military, marginalized, oppressed, hegemony, or the academic elite. It is the marginalized, oppressed, having no voice, and she said that, argues that truly opposed cannot speak for themselves because the language available to them is also that of oppressor, because you are giving the sword to them because their sword is also of that oppressed ones, right? Okay. John, this is also very, knowing. Negative capability he used it for to his, in the letter, brother George and Thomas, and he used it to describe Shakespeare's ability to remain in a state of mystery without needing to find them a logical truth. Moving forward to question number 48, William's 7 types of ambiguity is a key text for structuralism, new criticism, Marxist, or the post-colonialism. Question number 48. It is new criticism, very good. And Emerson showed how ambiguity, meaning more than one thing at once, and is a source of richness in poetry. Moving forward to question number 49. Aristotle hamartia is often translated as the tragic flaw, but its literal meaning in Greek is what? To fall down, to miss the mark, to die young, or to hate the gods. Question number 49. It is to miss the mark. Originally an archery term, it refers to an error in judgment or the mistake made by the hero. That is why it is called flaw. Moving forward to the last question of literary criticism. Eco-criticism is a study of the relationship between what? Economy and literature, ecology and literature, education, or the ethics. It is the ecology because it examines how the physical world is represented in the text and how literature reflects the environmental issues. And that's here we completed our 50 top MCQs, PYQs of literary criticism. Now tell me your score out of 50. Did you like this video? Did you like my explanation? What should be the next video? I know world literature. I'm preparing world literature. I've already started working on that. There will be only in the next video will be world literature. Done. First video will be world literature and paper 1 PYQ. Most repeated PYQ of all 10 units. Okay. So as of now, I am preparing these two, world literature and Paper 1, all 10 units. See, questions does not repeat. Patterns repeat. Patterns. Themes. Like questions will come from, we know, the questions will come from structuralism, the question will come from Ferdinand de Saussure, questions will come from eco-criticism, questions are going to come from the Aristotle's tragedy, questions will be coming from Langlois and Perrault, questions will be coming from, so these are the things that is going to come. Yeah. Did you understand my explanation? Do you understand when I speak, when what I want to convey? Do you understand that? Okay, fine. So the next video will be world literature, okay, and paper 1, 10 all units. Okay, till then, keep learning, keep shining. Bye bye. And if you found this video helpful, do not forget to like, share with your friends, those who are preparing for UGC NET, and also subscribe for more such UGC NET content video. Till then, keep learning, keep shining. Bye bye, and enjoy your last day of December. And good night, everyone. Bye bye. Thank you so much.